How's it going, people? What's good? Hope you're all well. Welcome back to the show. Thought we'd do another Arsenal show today. And who better to bring on than my favourite Gooner girl? It is Sophie Nicolau from the Highbury squad. How are you, Soph?
I'm very well. It's good to see you. Good to be back on the show. And congratulations on passing 5,000 subscribers in such a short space of time. You're smashing it. Very proud of you. Keep up the good work, mate.
Well, mate, thank you very much for that. I much appreciate it. I must be doing something right, mate. I tell you that because they keep coming back. These people. Welcome to you all in the chat. Great to see you all. Great to see a lot of squaddies in here as well, which is always a pleasure. Soph, it seems like a while that we've spoke before. What was it, pre-season, when we come on Hybrid
Mm.
Squad, had a chat about what we expect or what our expectations were, should I say? 7 games in, man, we sit top of the table. Lost to Man United through, in my opinion, a little bit of naivety from both the players and the manager, but we can't complain, man. 6 wins, top of the league, playing the best football, in my opinion, so far this season. I just think, personally, there's a little bit of credit needs to be coming our way.
Yeah, I think if you had asked Arsenal fans at the start of the season that we would be top of the league going into the international break, I don't think many Arsenal fans would have taken that bet. I think they would have hoped for that. But hope isn't a plan. And finally, we're seeing hope turn into, actual tangible results, things you can see, touch, feel. The evidence is there. The process is turning into progress. And the fact that we are top of the league, I think probably, a little bit disappointed in ourselves that we lost that game to Manchester United. I felt that there were 2 games in particular I wanted to get revenge on from last season. One was the Crystal Palace match, which was a debacle, and we righted that wrong. And then the other was the Old Trafford loss last season because the same thing happened. Showed them too much respect in the end. And I say maybe the same but opposite because we didn't go gung ho then when we should have gone in for the kill and totally finished
Mm.
them off. So maybe that's the game right now that I can't get the taste out of my mouth just a little bit. Had that first goal stood, where would the game have gone? But all in all, considering that Manchester City and Liverpool were lauded prior to the season, as were Spurs, lots of question marks against Chelsea. I think a club that have gone through some turmoil over the last few months. I mean, no one was expecting us to be here, and I think it's kind of a fun ride so far, especially with the expectations not having been set so high at the start of the season. Top 4, yes, but to be in a shout with the title race, I don't think many of us had us down for that.
No, it's mad. And I want to get your thoughts before we go into individual players, maybe perhaps improvements or challenges, changes, so to speak. And of course, our manager, I want to talk about whether you think Arsenal are actually in a title race, because whether we believe it's going to last, we actually are at the moment. Like statistically, the facts don't lie. We're top of the league. We're in a title race right now, 7 games in. But when I look at things realistically, so I can't see us staying there come the end of May. Now, of course, I hope I'm wrong, like I sometimes am. And we sit there and say 2 games left, we're 3 points behind City, and it's all on. We're in a title race. But I don't see that happening for a couple of reasons. I personally feel like there's still some naivety within this side. I still think the manager has made mistakes in the past, which I'm yet to see him rectify. And I also believe that the squad is extremely, and I mean extremely, paper thin. And I think some of those reasons concern me, so going into a season that's got to be an a World Cup season, 4 competitions, 5 subs being used by everybody who does have a seriously good squad. I think that might just be a little bit too much of an ask for a title race, and maybe it could screw up potential top 4 hopes. So I wanted to get your thoughts on whether you think that's realistic for me, or whether you think top 4, done, it's done, sewn up. Absolutely, it's whether we can go for the title or not. Or are you a little bit more reserved and think long way to go, a lot can change, and this top 4 is really up for grabs because it's a tight season this season for me?
So currently, everyone's in a title race mathematically, right?
Mm.
So if we kind of put our logical thinking brain on, then yes, of course, right now, Arsenal Football Club are in a title race. There's no doubt about that. Um, Whether or not Arsenal will win the title, that's a completely different question. Now, I'm not being melodramatic when I say anything is possible because I do believe that this season, the stop and starts, the World Cup sandwiched in between, I think there are a lot of things that can happen. The one team that benefits the most, and then I think another team that benefits, of course, is Manchester City, because Haaland's going to get an entire month off and Salah is going to get an entire month off. Now, one probably needs it more than the other. I think Haaland will just keep going until someone tells him the lights are out and you can't play anymore. He's ridiculous. And those are the two teams I think that will get stronger as the season goes. Now, a lot of people have written Liverpool off, maybe think it's not going to be their season. I think they're going through their bad spell now. You can't help but think at some point, Dan, they'll start playing better football, and some of
Absolutely.
their new players will settle in. It's really our own doing, undoing, if we don't find ourselves in the position. And a little bit like last year, right? Improbable situation to be in the Champions League running. We blew that. We blew it. We completely failed and scuffed our lines. It was a disastrous end to the season. We only have ourselves to blame. Now, similarly with this, the team has to improve year on year. You've got to sign better players year on year. You've got to surround the younger players with more experience, world class. And I find that we've done really good things and assembled a team together that is much more in the image of Mikel Arteta and the way he wants to play. But the reason why we won't be in the running is if we just find ourselves in the same position as last year, where you got 2 or 3 injuries, it will break this Arsenal team. Because the first 11 is the best 11, of course, and the bench is still too thin. So if we fail this season, it will be, God forbid, because Thomas Partey's injured. It will be because, God forbid, losing a player like Jesus or Zinchenko. Is he going to be like injury prone this season? We don't know. So that will be the reason why, because we are good enough and we've shown we're good enough. But the issue too is, Dan, is getting points away from home against the big teams. We've been incapable of doing that unless it's Chelsea. And again, that's where you'll find missed points. So those two things I think are important. Staying injury free, getting points away from home, and being smart enough to take a point at Old Trafford and not go gung-ho and go for the jugular and walk away with absolutely nothing and play so well and not get any points. And then that kind of springboards to mentality as well. So for me, it's injuries, getting points from the big 6 away from home, and mentality. Can you hold on at the end? Do you have that mental strength? Can you turn the corner from the corners that you've been in over the last 2.5 seasons?
Listen, I think you bring up some good points, and I think you share the same concerns as me. I think if Partey and Jesus were to get injured, this is a different Arsenal side. We've already seen the loss to Thomas Partey and what that does when Lokonga comes in. I still don't actually believe we have another number 6. The only one we have is Thomas Partey. I believe Lokonga is an 8. Xhaka is definitely an 8 and looks even better advanced, which we'll come on to in a minute. And I think Zinchenko, as much as I really like him, I've never seen him play as a holding midfielder. I've only ever seen him play as a left 8 for Ukraine and obviously as a left back for City, Club and Country. So I do think there's problems there. Up top, I like what I see from Eddie in terms of his development and his progress as a footballer, in terms of his strength. But I need to see this guy scoring goals, and I just don't have the confidence that he can do that like Jesus can over a long period of time if it was a long injury for Jesus. So, of course, that's my worry, Soph. But let's talk about some positives, because I do think there's quite a few this season already. Not just the improvement, not just the progress, the results we've seen. What seems different to you this season with this Arsenal setup, Soph?
Players, and the other key factor that we're yet to see is, has the manager learned from some of his own mistakes that he has made? And I believe and hope that he has. And by that, I mean, don't play Xhaka at left back if there's injuries, and leave Sambi in no man's land in midfield if
100%.
Partey is injured too, right? But it's what we've lacked doing in the past is bringing in players who can have an immediate impact on this team. And if we have brought in marquee players, we've never surrounded them with the right supporting cast to take the team to the next level. We were always signing one marquee player a season. Santi, Alexis, Ozil, And at the time you would say that, Mustafi, 35 million, Xhaka, 35 million, different opportunities to buy different players at the time, a reluctance to deal with certain agents, blah, blah, blah. you name it, we've kind of been there, lived through it, and experienced it. So right now, I think that this team is operating at the level it is immediately this season because key players with experience come in and they have an immediate impact on the side. You know, Nuno came in and had an immediate impact 2 games, couldn't hold it together after that. Same thing has happened to him at Marseille. 3 goals in 4 games, guns blazing. He's been really good, but he's fallen off a little bit. He's been criticised in the last couple of games. You need players who can come in and keep that up. Sambi comes in, does quite well. Long term, can he do it over a long period of time? Not right now, I think is the consensus for most Arsenal fans. But Jesus coming in, immediate impact, played how many games? Zinchenko came in before the injury, immediate impact. Saliba comes in, immediate impact. Those 3 players have changed the vibe and the belief and the quality on the pitch immediately, which is why we've seen an impact and a major difference right off the bat this season, Dan.
Yeah, I think you make a lot of facts, talk a lot of facts, and you make a lot of good points in relation to the players. I think personally, Jesus, Saliba, and Zinchenko, they have taken us to that next level. I think what Saliba's done is nothing short of magnificent. And, I believe personally, this guy could be, at the moment, one of the best young players in the world. That's how good he's looking. He's not looking like a player that's come in and looked an all right centre back. He's not looking like a player that's come in and done a good job. He's looking like a player who's come in and has completely transformed the way that we play. And a lot of people will say that we were already defensively solid. We were at times. Yeah, we were. But also, we leaked a lot
Towards
of
the end
goals.
of the
So
season, we were not.
yeah, 100% we did. Now, I know Rob Holding and Cedric were playing towards the end of the season, and it's a completely different defence now. But I look at what Saliba's done, and it has been so good. The stature, his distribution, his positioning, the fact that he's a threat not just defensively, but also attacking in boxes. We've already seen him score a couple of goals already this season. I think the partnership with Gabriel, who's a player who, to be fair, has probably been a bit shaky for the start of the season, but his partnership has been great with Gabriel. I've been a massive fan of what Ben White's done at right back. I was a person who said, not too sure he can play there long term, but the first 7 games he's looked fantastic and kept Tomiyasu out the side. It's looking good over at the left back now because we've actually got somebody, if Kieran Tierney's out, who can come in and play. And funny enough, ironically, Zinchenko's been injured for a few games as well, and Tierney's then come back in. There's no problem over left back anymore. We've not got a left winger playing there, Nuno Tavares, who, by the way, is now playing left wing and is scoring goals for Marseille for fun. So I think what we're doing defensively is great, but our midfield, Soph, has been so good because of Granit Xhaka. Now, Granit Xhaka is a player that has divided opinion. Granit Xhaka is a player I've lost my head over many, 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 many years. I'm starting to see a different Granit Xhaka now. And the reason I'm starting to see a different Granit Xhaka is because he's not getting sent off. He's not giving away goals. His discipline's massively improved. His positioning looks better. He looks like he's a part of everything that's good in this side is going through him. I think his advanced role is now stopping him from being those stupid errors that we've seen leading to goals over the last 5 seasons. And he has been influential in every single game that I've seen so far this season. But more importantly, had the best game in an Arsenal shirt I've ever seen him have at the weekend against Brentford. I thought he was head and shoulders man of the match above anybody. And I thought there's a few players that played well, to be fair. So that's a massive compliment to Granit Xhaka. We're seeing a different Granit Xhaka. When Partey's there, he plays even better. Odegaard's now starting to prove people wrong and say, do you know what? I can score goals. I wouldn't be able to the last couple, but I can score goals. Keep that going because I've always questioned, can he? I love you as a footballer, but can you score goals? And he's proved to people wrong that he can score goals. I'm looking at this midfield and I'm thinking that 3 in midfield looks good. That front 3 does not stop running. The work rate, the intensity from Martinelli, whose game has massively improved, by the way, because of Gabriel Jesus' signing. Everyone's getting on the back of Bukayo Saka, who's still assisting goals, by the way, and creating opportunities. Yes, he'll get better and improve, but actually, I quite like the way that Saka isn't our best player every game because actually we've got other players now that can do it. He's not carrying this side anymore. There just seems to be a different feel about the side at the moment, and I don't think the manager can have any more excuses to get at the minimum of Champions League. My only concern, and it's a comment which I'll bring up that's come from Ibrahim, if I can find it, is Potts, do you think this Arsenal side have enough power to sustain Europe and the league? And that's my big question mark. We've not had that. This team, less players than last season, 4 competitions. I want to be going for all of them, not just brush aside a couple so we can concentrate on one of them. I want to be going for all four of them. Does this squad look big enough? And that is my biggest concern, Soph. But when I'm looking at what we're doing right now, how can I sit there and moan? This is looking really, really good, mate, at the moment.
Is it sustainable? Is the question.
Mm.
That's where the rubber will meet the road, because Arsenal will be playing more football. And of course, you want them to go deep into the FA Cup. Hopefully, we can go one better this year and get to the final of the League Cup. We haven't won it since '93, haven't won a European trophy since the Super Kev was playing for the Arsenal. It's been a long time. I would love to win Europa League. I'd love for that to be our route back into the Champions League. Finish top four as well, just for the icing on the cake. Yes. Um, there are lots of things to be positive about, because we're also seeing, as thin as you and I think the squad still is, to mount that ultimate challenge, because the idea is for Arsenal to just start being competitive in the Premier League again. We saw that last season. The next season, you want to build on that. You want a little extra edge. You want the team to go that much farther. That would be qualifying for a Champions League spot, finishing in the top four. And then year on year, you just want to build and build on that. In order to do that, you have to have a team and that is competitive in every single position. And I think that's the difference that we're also seeing this season. And it just has to be built on by Edu and Mikel Arteta. I think the biggest mistake was not getting cover for Thomas Partey when you know he's injured, and the value that he brings to our team. He is too valuable to not have a player that can come in at his ilk or close to be able to manage that process. I like Sambi, as we said, but going after some of the names we had talked about in the summer, I think the injuries threw them off. They had their plan, they stuck to it. They've rolled the dice again like they did in January. Is that going to come back to bite us? But in the left back position, we've seen how that's helped Tierney already. Look how he's played when he's had to come in with Zinchenko being out, coming in, playing an inverted role, like,
Yeah.
training even harder to be able to do these things. It's incredible, isn't it? Look at Tomiyasu now. Just can't come back into the team that maybe he would have last season. Benjamin White is owning that right back spot. Now, whether or not he'll play there again in the North London derby, facing the players he is, we'll see. But has he earned it? Yes. Is Mikel going to change it? No. But how good to know that Tomiyasu can come into that position. The same thing with the centre-back pairing. Benjamin White can slip into any one of those roles if those players get injured. Up front, I think Nketiah is still off in terms of matching Jesus. I do like the way he can come on, hold up the ball, close games for us. I was really impressed with how he did that against Aston Villa the last 11, 12 minutes. His touch, taking the pressure off Dan a little bit. In those attacking winger positions, I think we could still use a little bit of competition. So, it's getting there. It's close. And I think the crime would be if they don't continue to build on this. But something tells me it's a new regime. It's different. The DNA, the profile, the culture, the strategic kind of moves that they want to make is definitely showing us that the goal is to build on making Arsenal a force year on year in the Premier League and eventually challenging for the title.
Well, listen, a super chat's come in just in time for that. And I think that, Luke, big up Luke, regular listener. Thanks for your super chat, man. It says, Two Dan and Sophie, do you believe that Arteta can lead us to a Premier League title? That for me is the question. And I've said this for a few seasons now. Is this guy going to take us to a Premier League title? Now, my answer is I don't think he will. However, how long are we going to keep this guy? Because he is going to get better. Like, whether it takes him 15 years, 15 days, 15 months, he will improve as a manager because he's young and he's still learning. So I've got no doubt in my mind that Mikel Arteta will be a manager that will be looked at and respected one day. But is he going to take Arsenal to a Premier League title? I think a lot of that's got to do with Man City because of how good they are. But do you have faith that Mikel Arteta is taking us towards what we think is the right way? And then do you think one day, Soph, that he could lead us to a Premier League title?
The only way he is going to be able to even mount a challenge, and we'll see what happens this season, is if they make the investment in the team. You can't win a title, I don't think, with the current squad that we have. Now, if we are proven wrong, and let me say something out loud that I said on our show, and Kev agreed with me, and some people think I'm crazy. I think if he was to win, and we're playing the what if game, which I love to do every now and again, Dan. If he was to win the league this season, after Liverpool acquired Diaz in January, Nunes in the summer, they've got Van Dijk, they've got Alisson, they've got the greatest manager in the world, or City have the greatest manager in the world in Pep. They've got this team coming back. They've sold Jesus, they've sold Zinchenko, they've sold Sterling, they got in Haaland though. If Arsenal were to win the league in this year with all of that going on around them, considering how much Chelsea have spent, Antonio Conte has Tottenham, I put it up there with an as great, if not greater, achievement than winning at Anfield in '89 or going invincible, because I think that would be as shocking as when Leicester won it. Now, that's not to say it's because we've fallen so far. Oh, how can we win it? It's because of the cumulative narrative year on year on year, Dan, that we've fallen, that we're dead, that we're on our knees. Even when we were on our knees, we won 4 FA Cups. We proved that in one-off games, we still had the ability to win. But to do it in the league, I think, I'm sorry, I would not have called anyone who says they would have called that. I would like to see the paperwork, because I just don't believe it for a second. And I'm not saying we're going to and playing the what if game. If he were to do that, that would be an incredible achievement. I don't see us doing that for a little bit longer yet.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I agree. I don't see a title challenge this season. If I'm honest with you, if that's going to happen, then I'll hold my hands up and say, wow, this process has taken long, but I'm behind it because we're back in the league title challenge. And that's what I want to see. I don't want to see Arsenal coming 5th and 6th and everyone's getting excited because we're back in Europe. We should always be in the minimum of Europe in the Champions League, in my opinion. So I want to see us back title challenging. And if it's going to be this season, then fair play. Hats off to Mikel Arteta. There's a couple of Gooners in here that have sent a couple of comments. So one of them is, actually, I'll do Chaitanya's first, which is, let's be honest, we replaced Aubameyang, Lacazette and Pepe with only Jesus technically. I actually agree with that, Soph, because we are short up top massively. And that leads me nicely to this question from Harvey, who says, do you think that we'll get a defensive midfielder and a forward in January? Or will the club or board put a stop to that? It's an interesting one about put a stop to that. I'm not so sure that that is true about what happens in our transfer window, but maybe I'm wrong. But I do think those two positions are looking across the front three and in defensive midfield particularly so, if a little bit weak, and maybe in January we might look to do something. What's your thoughts?
I'm not sure we're a January transfer market team anymore.
I agree.
And I think they are very in tune. By the way, I love all the comments in the chat saying I'm delusional about. It looks like it's a Tottenham fan though, so yeah, it's like
Oh yeah, it
saying
is a
we'll win
Tottenham
the
fan.
Champions League. Yeah, I didn't say we could win it. We were playing the what if game, just to reiterate that. Dan, what was the question? I lost my track. Lost my train of thought.
Arsenal in January. Arsenal in January.
Yeah, I just don't. I think he likes having the team that he has. I don't think Arteta likes disruptions too much. I don't think any manager does. They're creatures of habit. Footballers are creatures of habit. They like to know what they're doing every day, how they're doing it. There's a timetable. They're used to all of that. And unless it's something significant and part of a plan, then I don't think so. No. Are we willing to wait in the summer? Maybe, because prices in January could be so jacked up after the World Cup. And this is the problem with not going after specific targets in the summer. Have you made a mistake with a couple of players that you've had your eye on? So I think we've proven that we're not going to be toyed with anymore, spending and overspending in the transfer market, Dan. And I worry that after the World Cup, prices are going to be ridiculous in January. And it might be, let's settle and see what happens in the summer. And let's pray that Thomas Partey stays fit. And I think the good news is, because of the World Cup, AFCON is going to be in the summer next year. So we get to keep Thomas Partey and don't lose him I think maybe someone in chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that's the case because of the World Cup dating. Yeah, so I'm not sure.
Listen, transfer windows is an Arsenal. It's kind of PTSD. They don't really go together, do they? They're not very compatible, in my opinion. Particularly January transfer windows. I
It
can think
wasn't
of
that the
Arsenal.
summer wasn't that bad, was it? It wasn't. It's only because of the
No,
injuries that it hurt towards the end, Dan,
no, it
right?
wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. I think Jesus and Zinchenko was superb. I think that Vieira and Marquinhos are coming in as youngsters that are yet to be proven. But from what I've seen, early signs, I'm okay with that. They look all right. Saliba coming back wasn't a new signing, Sophie, was it? But of course, it was a new player that's come back into our squad. And let's be honest, the first team, which has been superb. So we've definitely improved on the squad. But what I'm getting at is January transfer window for the last couple has been January. It hasn't been a transfer window. Nothing's happened in it. All this Vlahovic stuff, I was bored of it, if I'm honest, and it turns out that probably wasn't even true anyway now. So when we look at it, I think we've got a massive October, and then the start of November, people forget we've got Chelsea and Wolves away, two very hard fixtures, and we have to try and keep this team as fit as we can. And then there's only a couple of weeks after the World Cup and the January transfer window is open. I would be surprised if Tielemans and Louise don't get mentioned again for the pure fact that their contracts are up and are on a free in the summer. Two players, that I know for a fact we were definitely snooping around.
Mhm.
Tielemans would come in that number 8 role. Douglas Luiz would come in that number 6 role. I'm not saying they're the ones I want and that they're good enough. What I'm saying is that they're probably going to be happening again, rumor-wise. So it wouldn't surprise me if that happens. As for a striker, I still feel we need a different type of striker. I like the fact that, excuse me, I like the fact that Eddie and Jesus give a lot of work rate, give a lot of press, give a lot of intensity, and to be fair to them, do score goals. But what I also feel we need is some aerial threat, a target man, a different profile striker, somebody like the guy who's banging in goals for Milan that we used to have that was completely underrated, Olivier Giroud. Would imagine getting him back just for a season. That'd do me, I'll tell you that. But somebody, and I'm not saying we're going to go and get a Tammy Abraham in January. That would probably be like a summer move if it is even someone that we're interested in at all. But somebody like him who can give us a different option from the bench or starting in games. So just wanted to get your thoughts on the kind of players that you think we could potentially be snooping around, Soph.
So, you and I have talked in the past about GQ Giroud, and I've said many times I feel like he's one of the most underappreciated Premier League players of all time, let alone Arsenal players of all
Fair.
time. A perennial winner wherever he goes and consistent, does his job. And I think that's one thing that Mikel Arteta has done well and better this season. He's got players just doing their jobs. There's no need to tinker and change too much. But when we do need to tinker or change, what is the plan B? Yeah, shifting gears, moving players at the back, changing, the attacking options or any creativity in midfield. But tactically, can much change? And I think having a target man in certain games at certain points in the season is an option that we don't have. Now, saying that, Kev and I were going on about crosses into the box before the Brentford game. And we were like, who's on the end of them unless it's a set piece and it's going to be Saliba or Gabriel. And lo and behold, we end up scoring two headers. And Jesus, unbelievably so, getting up there with his height with three players around him was incredible. But to be able to have that consistently and that option off the bench, I don't think we do. And I'm not saying this player in particular, but I do believe that sometimes we're snobby as fans in that one of the things I've been critical of Arteta, but what I like is that he brings in players who can fit the system, not bring in players because of the name on the back of their shirt. And I think that's a really smart, it's the Pep way of doing things. He's done it everywhere he's managed. And to have an option B, to have a player like Mitrovic, by the way, on the bench, someone like him who knows he's not going to start but can come on in a game, get you a header at any given point, and by the way, score a banger if you need to because he has that in his toolbox. That's the kind of player I would like for us to see. But our fans sometimes are a little bit snobby about those kinds of players. And I think those kinds of players get you an extra 8, 9 points in a season that can make all the difference.
Fair play to you, man. Listen, I think the way you articulate is great, Soph. You know I love it. And I think you're absolutely bang on with what you're saying. I do think, as though there's some concerns, I do think there are definitely a lot of positives within this side. The next thing I want to
Mm.
talk about, though, quickly, right? And it's mad because last season I questioned whether Ben White deserved some of the praise or credit that he was getting, because I saw some mistakes in his game. What I didn't do was slate the kid like I've seen some Arsenal fans do. Don't quite understand where that comes from in any sort of Arsenal fan base, unless there's someone who consistently does your head in, like a Mustafi or even Xhaka. To be fair, the last few seasons when he was making consistent mistakes, I don't see consistent bad performances from Ben White or bad errors. And I just want to bring this comment up in this super chat from Cliff, because he said Ben White is benefiting from Saliba's exceptional cover. If not for him, he'd be getting toasted out there. I'm not saying he's poor, but I do prefer Tomiyasu. Big up Cliff as well, and thanks for the super chat. Appreciate your opinions on this one, because this one's an interesting one for me, Soph. I think he's been very, very good this season, Ben White, at right back, by the way. I think the partnership between him and Gabriel was good last season. I'm not going to lie. I prefer, personally, Gabriel and Saliba. I think it looks better. But I think Ben White deserves a hell of a lot of credit for what he's done. And I sometimes feel like the price tag, we're getting a bit of a Pepe here for me. The price tag means this guy needs to be Van Dijk. If he's not Van Dijk, I'm going to slate you. Pepe, you need to be Mbappe. If you're not Mbappe, you're going to get it, son. And I sometimes feel sorry for those players because they didn't decide their price tag. Ben White never said, if you want me, Arsenal, you're going to have to pay me £50 million to my club. Otherwise, I'm not leaving. Pepe never said to Arsenal, pay Lille 72 million. Otherwise, I'm not budging. It was our decision to pay that much money. And I feel personally like some fans get into these players. Now, I understand Ben White's had some bad games. I understand he's not the Tony Adams that some people say he is. And that's all I questioned was, how good is Ben White? Some of these Arsenal fans, I see him trashing him. And I'm thinking, is he that bad, Ben White? I mean, he looks all right to me. And particularly this season, consistently good at right back, something I never thought he'd be able to do so. So where do you stand on this one, mate?
Players get better when they have better players around them. Even at work, a team gets stronger and better when you hire really good people. It's just a fact. You know, Tom Brady would never have won as many Super Bowls had he not had great wide receivers or, Wes Welker all these years. Manchester United, what did Sir Alex Ferguson do every single year? Plug and play. Yapstam leaves? Oh, boof. Here's your next guy. Vidic leaves? Boof. Here's your next guy. Mark Hughes leaves? Oh, here's your next guy. Beckham leaves. That is the point of sports, right? And we've become, look, Martinelli's become better because of playing with Jesus. You said it earlier in the show. He's infectious the way he plays. He demands more. And when you see a player who's won the Premier League many times play and hustle like that, you're going to hustle too. I totally agree with what you said about Saka as well. I don't want him to have to be the hero every single game. Now he's part of a team. He's not the individual that has to put the entire team on his shoulders. And Benjamin White also bailed out his teammates at some points during this season and last season. And I don't know why Gabriel is tainted with a more, kind of higher echelon brush, because Saliba has saved him many times this season too. But somehow the question mark is always, it's going to be Gabriel and Saliba together, not Benjamin White and Saliba together. And I totally understand that because of where Gabriel's come from, and he was a beast last season. So 50 million is what the market demands for an English player. Now, is he worth 50 million? No, but no player is worth the millions that we pay for them. And, we can't judge a player on that. I think he's done a really good job. I think he's come into the team and he's been asked to play in a position that, yes, he's played in before. I mean, he's played the DM role at Brighton very well too. He's the type of player that is a versatile player, but is not the jack of all trades and master of none like a Callum Chambers or a Maitland-Niles. He's more talented than that, and he deserves the respect. And I think that Arteta will stick with him. Let's see. Tomiyasu may offer more defensively, but going forward, I think Benjamin White offers, the same, if not more, with his passing and his distribution of the ball. But again, what a great position to be in. North London derby coming up. Who are you playing, Tomiyasu or Benjamin White? It's a good problem for Mikel Arteta to have. But I think that He has been disrespected by not being included in an England team where you've got Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire playing. I don't care about trusted. Going into a tournament, you need to be in good form. You need players who are playing well. And that might come back to bite Southgate on the arse.
Hmm. I love the way you ended it there, and I totally agree with you. Let's talk. I mentioned it earlier. Let's talk about this guy, shall we? I mentioned him earlier for a reason because I
Mm.
know that you've got an opinion on him. Um, Arnie, big up Arnie, by the way. Says, Dan, talk about Xhaka's twin brother that's now playing for Arsenal. And I get what he means. I do get what he means. And some people will think it's harsh saying that Granit Xhaka's now good and he hasn't always been, because there's parts of his game over the last 5 years that have been good. And there's games where he's played that he's been really, really good, Granit Xhaka. I think where my kind of questions or concerns have always been are the obvious ones I've already gone over. Same mistakes that he's making, not learning from mistakes, discipline's poor, blah, blah, blah. I don't really want to go into it because it sounds all negative. At the
Mm.
moment, this player's been fantastic. So absolutely fantastic. For me, hands down the best player for Arsenal this season, in my opinion. Consistency wise, the way that he's drove us forward, even starting to set up goals and be creative now. What the hell is going on? And how much credit does he deserve? And how much credit does a manager deserve to you?
So I think Xhaka's happier. And that starts with everyone, every single day, in everything that we do. When you wake up, what's my purpose? How happy am I? Questions we should ask ourselves every single day. And he hasn't been happy at the Arsenal for a long time. Hasn't been happy with maybe who he's playing with his teammates, being apathetic in the dressing room, continually being blamed for everything, even when it's not his fault, rightly being blamed for everything when it is his fault. And I just think he became, despondent with being at the club. Hence why, he flirted with Mourinho and Roma last summer. And again, I think this is where Mikel Arteta might deserve a little bit of credit because he always believed in Xhaka and he never gave up on Xhaka. He believed in certain players for a while, but eventually had to give up on them, like Bellerin. There's only so far your belief can go with certain players. And I always think that when a player has the type of reputation he does, not with one manager, not with two managers, but with three managers, and is deemed and seen as a leader, you've got to say there's something to that. And I mentioned to you when I met him in LA on the tour, I could see why Emery made him captain at the time. I could see why he was the spokesperson for the team. The way he handled himself, the way he talked to everybody, the way he connected and interacted with the media. Unless you're Magic Mike, of course, and he gave you a dirty look that he wanted to kill you, and you're lucky you escaped one in Los Angeles on that sunny Southern California day. But he's, I think, a happier player and he's playing in a role that he's relishing and the shackles have been taken off his feet and he's been given a lot of freedom, and I think that he's grasping it and loving it, and I don't think he feels burdened anymore by the armband. And I think when you add all those things together, you get a player who started to believe in himself again, feels the love from the fans, is confident, his manager believes in him, and I think he's enjoying playing with the Jesuses of the world, the Salibas of the world. And again, that helps him in his position. How much do I have to do? Not too much. That's going to get me in less trouble. So for me, Granit Xhaka, I think, is thriving because he's happier. And that's what we're seeing in his style and how he's playing as well.
It's mad, isn't it? Because people will say to me, Dan, what is it about Xhaka? And for those that have been listening to me for the last couple of years, you'll know. I don't have to explain to you. But for those that don't, it's his discipline. It's the fact that he concedes penalties. It's the fact that he makes errors leading to goal. And then I saw this. Granit Xhaka always gets red cards. He's got one red card in his last 175 appearances for Arsenal. Xhaka always concedes penalties. One penalty conceded in his last 2 seasons. Xhaka always makes errors leading to goals. 0 errors in his last 2 seasons. All outdated criticisms, find
Mhm.
new ones. And I thought, actually, fair play. Because when you put it like that, you can't sit there and say that he's the reason that we're losing games. You can't sit there and say that he's the reasons we're giving away penalties. Yeah, you can look at the red card that he got against Liverpool. You can look at the red card that he got against Man City last season, and you can get frustrated by that. But when you look at what he's doing at the moment in an Arsenal shirt, there's nobody that can sit there and tell me that this guy is not doing well at the moment. And I would go as far to say that if you're looking at who is the shock of the season, for me, it's this guy. And I'm talking about Premier League, not just Arsenal, because he's been so good, Soph, consistently good. And I think he deserves the credit now because, he's going to get it from me. I'm not one of those fans who sits there and has agendas. I'll always say, well, I've got things wrong. And although I don't think I've got this one wrong, I am going to sit there and give him credit when he deserves it because he's been absolutely sensational for me, 100%.
No one's
Um,
coming in to replace him right now, Dan. He and Thomas
100.
Partey are the midfield of the Arsenal. That is the preference for Mikel Arteta. And it's going to take some players to come in and be on certain form to remove those two from their positions.
Listen, I think you're bang on. And when you get to a stage where, you know, Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka and Odegaard are fit, I think you're going to see a very good midfield at Arsenal. I really do. So long may that continue. So if I want to talk to you just quickly, I know we're only 7 games in and it seems weird asking these questions so early, but I do
Mhm.
think it's a good time because we've stopped for an international break to see some of these questions that I like that we normally start with and then end with at a season. But I just like to do it throughout because I think it's important to see where your head's at in terms of the individual players. So,
Mhm.
who for you so far has been the best player for Arsenal? I obviously think it's Granit Xhaka. Who do you think?
It's a tough one between Saliba, Xhaka, and Jesus. And I always look for those unsung heroes, like who's playing so well that is flying under the radar. And I think that's Benjamin White. But I'm going to have to go with Jesus right now because the impact he's having off the ball as much as he is on the ball, I think is the fundamental difference to this team and how we're tracking back impacts as a unit, not letting our opponents have a moment's rest. The concern about that is that he's having in the United game in particular, he had to not in the United game, sometimes in the Brentford game, in the Fulham game, he had to do too much, and then he's not in the right positions when we're moving forward. I think that's something that they'll work on. But for me, it has to be Jesus for now.
I think that's fair. I think he's been sensational. I've said that and been quite clear about how great he's been and how great he's looked. Who's for you been the surprise so far for you?
I think it's fair to say Jacques has been the surprise. And I mean, we've talked about it already. So for me, yeah, Xhaka, I think, has been the surprise, and long may that surprise continue, not only from how he's been playing, his form, but his leadership and how he's embraced and not felt the weight of that captain's armband in his performances, trying to have to do too much anymore. And I think it's just the way the team's set up now and how he just slots into that role seamlessly. So yeah, Xhaka for me.
It's mad, isn't it? Because you could give all of these to Xhaka. Because my next one was who's improved the most so far for you. It's probably Granit Xhaka. He's surprised us. He's improved, and he's been player consistently for me. But the reason I'm going to go for the one that surprised me the most is Ben White
Mhm.
because I really didn't think long term he could play right back. I thought he was okay. I saw him against Chelsea last year, so next to Holding, and it was just an absolute disaster. And we actually won the game. It was 4-2, the game that Eddie came and turned up. Defensively, we were all over the place. It was absolutely shocking. We conceded. Luckily, Chelsea were just as bad defensively that night, but we were so bad. And he looked absolutely awful. And I thought, we cannot have this guy at right back. No chance. So when he came in, I thought, oh, Tommy Asu, hurry up. Now, Tommy Asu's back and he can't get in the side. So that's been the surprise
Mhm.
for me, 100%. In terms of the one that's improved, I mean, everyone's going to say Xhaka. Um, I would like to put forward Martinelli in that as well, because from what I've seen, I've never seen Martinelli start the season like this. Probably because he
Mhm.
doesn't normally start the games, but when he has come on from the games before, he's never looked as hungry, as tenacious, and as much of a battler or a warrior he is as he is. And I think a lot of that has got to do with the signing of Jesus, but also he's finding his shooting boots now and he's scoring. My only concern with him is sometimes he's rash. Sometimes he gets that little bit too excited and he messes it up. Like we saw at the weekend. Brilliant chance, brilliant play by Xhaka, funny enough, again, cuts it back to him and he loses his footing. We saw it against Man United where he's just rash and he's just lashing out at balls. He's going over the bar, it's going wide. He's done it throughout the most of the season. Palace, scuffed it wide in the first chance of the whole season that he had. So sometimes it gets frustrating. But I really like this player, man. I really like Martinelli, everything
Right.
about him. I love him. I've been calling for him to be playing, and now I'm glad that he is. So I probably go for him in terms of improvement. What about yourself?
Yeah, I love all those you mentioned. Benjamin White, we've talked about. Silently in the last couple of games, I've been really encouraged by Kieran Tierney and how he's come in
Oh,
and played. And I think that, depending on the defensive side of things. Again, left back, right back, I'm really intrigued to see what Mikel Arteta is going to do. I think playing at home, he'll go for Zinchenko if he's fit. I agree about Martinelli. He needs to look up more, looks down too much and dribbles
Yeah,
that fraction too far. And I think if he can fix those things, it'd be lethal. Sometimes play that ball earlier. He needs to calm down, whereas Saka needs to like really rip that ball to shreds and put his laces through it when he takes the shot. Sometimes he's just a little bit too timid. But if I'm going to go for a player who I think has improved, even though I loved him from day one, I'm going to say is Odegaard, because the way he started this season, such a shame that he was injured. Um, but he has
it's
been
fair.
commanding. He has led by example. He's taken the team, put it on its shoulders. His interplay has been delicious. He's scoring goals as well. He's really kind of taken the beginning of the season. It was like shoot more. End of last season, shoot more, shoot more. Seems to be playing more fearless football. And I think he's now felt so comfortable in this side and he has that sense of ownership. This is my team. I'm the maestro. I'm the conductor. And I think that he's relished that role. And I've loved seeing him play this season. So for me, I'm going to say Captain Odegaard.
Fair play to you, and he's one that I really did, expect things from this season, and so far I'm seeing it. Really like the player, by the way. Really like the player. Technically gifted, beautiful to watch. Needed to see goals and assists, and so far we've got them. So keep that up, Martin, because we all love it. I've got to big up Kieran Tierney as well. You know he's my favourite player,
Yeah,
right?
love Kieran.
But do you sometimes think it's a bit harsh now? Like we bought Zinchenko, and now it's like play Tierney if we have to. And I'm like, hang on a
No,
minute,
no,
this
no, no.
this
That's how
kid
you
is
build a football
quality.
team. Nah, Dan.
Yeah,
No.
man, this kid's quality. Give him credit, man. I love Tierney.
Arteta knows in this instance, if there's one thing that I believe he has learned under Pep is you need a squad of players. And Kev's told me from day one, it's the players, so if it's the players. Okay, so if it's the players, we need more and we need good ones in most positions. And I'm not saying you're going to have world class to step in for Jesus, but you're going to have a good player to step in for Jesus. Whether that's Eddie or not, that remains to be seen still. But yeah, Tierney's a good player. He doesn't become crap overnight. And he's been an integral play for us. And look how our season ended last year without him at left back. Didn't end well, did it?
Listen, I think it's facts, and I absolutely love Kieran Tierney, and I do like Zinchenko from what I've seen. I will say this: I think defensively, Kieran Tierney's much better. I think positionally, Zinchenko's been caught out already twice in the 7 games, and got sucked in against Man United at Old Trafford. But I love what I see from Zinchenko. I love what I see. Tierney is, I love him. I think what Zinchenko brings is winning mentality, leadership qualities, and technically very gifted, very comfortable on the ball. So I think we've got two left backs here, Soph, and I'm really, really all for it. And I think, it'd be interesting if the day does come where Granit Xhaka gets a knock and Zinchenko has to play that role. It will be good for me to see it because from what I hear from Ukraine, it looks pretty good. So let's see what happens there. I want to lastly touch on the North London derby, and then I want to come to something a little bit different before we end. Massive October, Sophie.
Mhm.
North London derby, Liverpool. Obviously, our Europa League games will be in between that. What's your thoughts going into this one? This is where Arsenal can shine, isn't it, and prove everyone wrong?
Yeah, I kind of wish this game was this weekend. Really do. Coming off that Brentford display, all that confidence, especially as we had to wait to play again after losing miserably to Manchester United. But these are going to be the games, Dan, where we start getting judged, and Arsenal fans cannot throw their toys out of the pram if people criticize us for not winning them. This is where process has to lead to progress. You've got to win these games at home against the big teams. Yes, we played really well against City at home last season, ended up losing that game. I would rather have played ugly and got 3 points. We would be in Europe right now, those kinds of games, right? It's all well and good playing pretty, going gung ho all the time. Sometimes you need to walk away with the points. I do think at home to Tottenham, I fancy us. I fancy them at their place. I fancy us at our place. And again, Tottenham need to be a bit careful. They're going into this game a little bit maybe overly lauded. Even my cousins who support Spurs, the scary thing is they say they're not playing that well so far. I don't think they've played that well so far. which is a scary proposition. But they're definitely dangerous, and we play into their hands, Dan. The way we play football, it's Kane and Son and Richarlison or Kulishevsky. They'll salivate over those breaks, and I don't think there's a team in the Premier League right now that breaks faster than Tottenham in those positions. And it's really tough to break down their low block. But then once they get off the blocks, my goodness, they're a very dangerous team. So home advantage, I think, works best for us in this North
Mm.
London derby. I'm not sure how you're feeling about it, but I think that we can win it. But I do think that we've got to be careful and we can't concede first. We can't let that kind of onslaught kick in that happened away from home last season.
So the way I'm feeling about it is if the Arsenal team that played Manchester United turns up, Conte will be licking his lips. If we're naive like that and we're easy to get broken through, they'll counter us and they'll win the game. But I don't think that Arsenal will turn up. I think that the record says it all. At home, Arsenal always do well in this fixture. At White Hart Lane, they normally do well in that fixture over recent years because the home advantage, believe it or not, I'm not trying to plug my own podcast name, it is a 12th man, right? It actually is 100%. So the home advantage is massive. I agree with you. Arsenal actually don't do terrible against Antonio Conte's sides if you look back in history.
No, this is a
So
true fact. Yeah.
this is another thing that I'm looking at as a good omen. And the reason, Sophie, let's be honest, black and white, Arsenal are playing well at the moment. You can't go into this game thinking that just because form goes out the window, usually with all of these games, that it counts for absolutely nothing. Because actually, our momentum's there. It's good that we bounced back after a loss from Man United to beat Brentford. We played well in that game, probably the best we've seen all season in terms of the football that we played. And I think that has to be a good thing. Of course, it could change because international breaks, we could get 3 injuries. But you know what? So could Tottenham. So we'll see what team is going to be out there. We'll make our decisions and do previews up to this game. Of course we will. But I look at this right now, Soph, and I fancy a 3-2 Arsenal win. I think it's going to be a cracker. I think it's going to be an absolute cracker. I think it's important this early of the season, the way that we are with Man City at the moment, and obviously Spurs up there as well. And I think this could be a really, really good one. Where I have my doubts, funnily enough, and this could all go wrong, is the Liverpool game because people are laughing very, very hard at the moment. Very, 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 very hard. Thiago's back. Matip's back. Yotta's back. This ain't going to be a Liverpool that couldn't beat Fulham and struggled against Man United. This is a team that comes second last season and have looked to dominate over the last few seasons with an elite manager. So this, for me, will be where we drop points against Liverpool. I fancy us to take 3 against Tottenham, though, mate. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think when we did our predictions, I said I couldn't see us beating Liverpool. And I could see that being like a 2-2. It's a team that we don't usually do well against. I can see us beating Leeds, beating Tottenham, losing or drawing to Liverpool and losing away to Manchester City. But again, as I said, man, if you can take those games and turn it on its head, even get a point from those 2 matches, that is progress. That is absolute progress. And maybe some people think, well, that's not good enough. We've got to be beating them. Let's just start with getting a point off them, shall we? Step by step. We played so well against City, like I said last year, we couldn't beat them. So those are the games where I really want to snatch a point. And I would have loved for it to have started at Old Trafford. Now there's even more pressure against Tottenham at home. These are the games where we've got to get points, Dan.
100. And, these media outlets, which we're going to come on to last, are all going to be laughing, thinking, Tottenham and Liverpool. Hopefully,
They're just
Arsenal
waiting.
will, drop points. They're waiting. They were waiting at when it happened against Palace. They were thinking, Friday night, first game, Arsenal Palace, that'll be a good one. Get your talk sport ready, guys. It's all going to kick off at Arsenal. It's going to be funny. It's ruined our weekend. They're doing the same. They'll be doing the same at Tottenham. They'll be doing the same at Liverpool. They'll just wait for us to lose and they'll lap it up. And fair play to them. Let them banter it up. But that's where I want to come to last, Soph. I, for one, don't give a damn what people talk about Arsenal Football Club. I respect everybody's opinions, and I always have done. I've always had strong opinions. Some people don't respect mine, but so be it. I'll say what I want about Arsenal, and I'll listen to what people say about Arsenal. So I don't care if Andy Goldstein and Jason Cundy and Richard Keys want to have a go at us. I think it's bloody funny because they cannot have a go at the way we're playing. So they have to pick something else. It's so funny. They have to pick us over celebrating. They have to pick us putting silly posts out on Twitter that are trying to banter with Ivan Toney because they can't laugh at Arsenal losing. So they say it's embarrassing. It wasn't embarrassing when Toney did it, by the way, but it's embarrassing when Arsenal do it. Then they say that we have to bring a 15-year-old on, and it's absolutely disgraceful that a 15-year-old can get 90 seconds on a pitch, touch the ball twice, absolute meltdown. This is brilliant. Let them do it. Don't get annoyed by it. Just laugh at them. This is funny. If that keeps going and that continues, do you know what will happen? We'll keep winning because they will have nothing else to take us and laugh at us about. I think it's brilliant. Hope it continues. Absolute idiots, all of them. What's your thoughts, Soph?
Arsenal are becoming relevant again. We never became an irrelevant club, but we became an irrelevant Premier League team because we weren't doing anything. Right? Still winning FA Cups, like I said, in our dark years, but we became really an irrelevant Premier League club up until last season again, and this season where we're showing a little bit of, archidia, as we say in Greek. So this is a good thing. We're irritating our opponents. We're irritating opposing fans. And there's nothing greater than that. Do you remember the Chelsea game where Diego Costa showed a masterclass of dark arts on, oh my God, who was the defender? Having
Who did
a
he play for?
brain fart. Us at Stamford Bridge. And he got sent off. Diego Costa was having one of those games where
Santos.
No, not
Gabriel.
Santos.
The old Gabriel.
Thank you.
Yeah,
The
the
old
old
Gabriel.
Gabriel.
The old Gabriel. And I was like, I would love a player like that in our team right now. I would love a player like that. Benjamin White has got a little shithousery about him. We know Xhaka has, but he hasn't mastered it. Rob Holding was a disaster class of dark arts against Tottenham last season. But you need that. And we're irritating people because we're relevant again. And long may it continue, is what I say. And they know what they're doing. Look, there's a narrative, you guys. It's always boring if two hosts on a national radio station choose the same opinion. They need to mix it up a little bit. And I think Jason is, and I've interviewed Jason a few times. He's been on our show. Saw him when I was in London. He's a top shelf guy. He's a really cool
Yeah, I like Jay.
guy. And he's a great person to talk football with. And he's always candid with his opinions. Do I agree with what he said? Absolutely not. But when he comes on our show before the Chelsea game, you guys will get to hear about it. And we'll talk about it with Super Kev as well. So, yeah, long may it continue. The more we annoy people, the better.
100%, man. 100%. I've got to agree with Arnie here, though. We've got 289 people in and we've got 82 likes. Come on, people. Bring Vinny up, man. I need a little Vinny. I need a little version of Vinny. Yeah, I need to. Smash the likes, people. It means the world. Please do that. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you go over to Hybrid Squad and do exactly the same thing. All you need to do is click on the title. Hybrid Squad is a link to the YouTube. Just click it. Go press subscribe. They're on 12k. Let's get them up to 12.5 by the time this goes out, people. Come on, let's do this. Soph, absolute pleasure.
Brilliant.
Love having you on, man. Love talking Arsenal with you. It's all love. And absolutely smashing the Hybrid Squad. I watch every single time that I can. You and Super Kev. Absolutely brilliant, man. Tell everyone what you got coming up over on the Hybrid Squad, mate.
Yeah, we just did a really good interview with Matt Spiro on Saliba and our other loan players in Liga. So you can catch that. We did that on Monday. There's a great Paul Davis interview that we did a couple of weeks ago, if you haven't caught that yet, as part of our Legacy and Legend collection, talking about his book, some fantastic stories from Arsenal, trip down memory lane kind of stuff, and talking about being Mikel Arteta's mentor as well, Dan. So lots of interesting stuff there. Check out the channel. There's a little bit of everything for everyone. So thanks for having me, Dan. As always, keep smashing it.
Thank you very much, mate. And you're always welcome on. Absolutely superb. I'm sure I'll jump on at some stage and speak to you and Kev about all things Arsenal. But for now, guys, we're going to leave it there. Thank you all so much for joining us. Please smash a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. Do the same over at Hybrid Squad. We'll see you next time. And as always, up the Arsenal, people.